Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. It is Tuesday, the 13th day of June, 2023. Tuesday of the 10th week of the year, the 10th week in Ordinary Time, but also today it is the memorial of Saint Anthony of Padua. Buona festa San Antonio, everybody. So it is the great Franciscan saint, Saint Anthony, his feast day today. It is a feast day for all Franciscan communities. That would include Saint Francis, but it's also but it's a memorial for the rest of the church. But remember him as the great first Franciscan scholar, Franciscan doctor. He had already been a scholar and a doctor before he entered the Franciscans. He was a member of, I think he was a member of a religious community. I'd have to see, but I think it's either a diocesan priest or a member of a religious community, and he transfers into the Franciscan movement. Again, asking Francis if he might instruct the friars to be able to be better at their preaching, because that becomes their job and their responsibility in the world. And again, Francis's response is always, sure, but make sure it does not extinguish the spirit of prayer amongst them. Again, that knowledge is not good for knowledge's sake, but that knowledge is good to be able to expose us and open us to the wonders of God in this world, and what it is that God asks us to do and God asks us to become. Again, we are people who are built and created for learning and for receiving understanding, receiving truth, receiving wisdom. And again, that is how God has created us, and we need to put that to use. Again, never for our own sakes, but the sakes especially of those around us who need to hear good news, who need to hear that there is a God who cares and loves for them, and that they themselves are wonderfully created creatures and wonderfully created images of God in this world. And so we celebrate everyone who embraces learning, and everyone who is a teacher and educator, everyone who tries in some way, shape, or form to allow learning to open us up to the wonders of this world, and within that, the wonders of God. There are special readings for the feast day in the Franciscan lectionary, but we don't have it because it's being revised. So the readings for today can also suffice. So the second letter of Paul to the Corinthians continues today, and it's interesting today where Paul basically tells the Corinthians that the message that they have been preached is not a message of yeses and nos. It is only a message of yeses, which is wonderful, because that is, what God wants us to have, is not a bunch of no's and yeses and nos. God only wants us to have yeses. God wants us to be happy. God wants us to understand, again, the wonder and beauty of this world around us, and how we are a part of it, and how it is a gift to us. So we need to be a gift to one another and to it in turn. It is not a God of commandments. It is not a God who wants to reinforce all of those do's and don'ts that unfortunately the commandments kind of boil down to at times. There are very few yeses within them that help to strengthen and help to enrich the human life and the human understanding of things, the human understanding of the world. So Paul's message to the Corinthians is not about stopping doing things in as much as it is trying to embrace the wonder and beauty of what can be, the wonder and beauty of what is there, the wonder and beauty of this world around us, and again, of us within it. Important for us to remember always, because sometimes we take a look at our church too many times, and our church is just filled with a bunch of no's. And that is our church, and that is not God. And it's important to know the distinction between the two, and to avoid the one and embrace the other. In the gospel today, again, it kind of continues with this sort of message from 2 Corinthians. Jesus speaks about people being both the salt of the earth and the light of the world. That's and that is basically what people are, period. You don't have to grow into that. You don't have to earn that title or that understanding of yourself. It's not a sense of having found favor in some way with God, and that makes you salt and light. It is how we have been created. It is who we are, and that is another wonderful, important thing to remember, is that God creates, the way things should be. We're the ones who tend to forget that many times. It's not about necessarily learning something, as it always is remembering what is, and in that remembering to learn. And so this is the way that life works. This is the way that creation works. This is the way that we who have been created in God's image are asked to work and asked to be in this world, as people who are salt and light. and to let that salt enrich things and to let that light shine, so that what it is that God intends to do through us and in this world might be accomplished through our hands. It might be accomplished through what it is that we do. We are not waiting for something to happen. We are that something that should be happening now. And if we remain true to that, if we remember that, then the wonder and glory of God shines forth. Blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.